One very unique political structure that existed in Africa, or that existed in some parts of Africa before the coming of the Europeans, was the non-centralized political structures or non-centralized political units. Before the coming of the Europeans, African societies were made up of two major political orientations. There was the centralized political units where you had empires, kingdoms, and as well the non-centralized political units where you have political units that had some unique political structures. If you are watching us for the very first time, please subscribe to our channel and click on the notification icon so that anytime we drop a new content, you will be one of the earliest persons to be notified. The stateless societies or the non-centralized political societies in Africa before the colonial period had very unique systems which I strongly believe were created indigenously in Africa, sustained indigenously in Africa in order to bring social harmony and unity, and as well to create progressive societies. The existence of some of these stateless societies had been very unique and highly interesting. These stateless societies or non-centralized societies existed in definite geographic location but had little or no centralized political authorities. The major political structure around these stateless societies were organized in what I will call segmented structure, or what I will call segmented approach. These stateless societies had little concentration of authorities on individuals. They cannot be said to have any centralized figure or a king or an emperor, a queen, but there were individuals that held some positions. But in most cases, these individuals cannot single-handedly determine anything or most things in such societies. Their proclamations were not laws. Rather, the concentration or creation of laws were done based on democratic approach. The wielding of authorities as specialized or full-time occupation in these stateless societies were virtually unknown. This is to say that there was no major political position given to anybody where the person can sit or stand and proclaim things, and it will happen that way. In most of these stateless societies, the segmented political structures were operated in layers. And in most of them, the smallest unit of this segment or this layer was the family. And this family structure was mainly a structure where you have a group of families that are related or that can link their origin to a particular grandfather or great grandfather or forefather. From that family, the next political position in some cases happen to be the kindred. From the kindred, you go to the village. On the village, you go to something higher. Well, there's no general approach to this. There are uniqueness or unique structures or that we are known for some of these definite political or stateless political societies. Let's take a little look at the Igbo. One of them, the Igbo people. The Igbo people happen to be one of the examples of stateless or non-centralized political societies. In the Igbo political setting, the lowest political structure was a family, as I said earlier, made up of a group of families that are related. From there, in some cases, you go to the kindred, which is also another collection of families that are also related. From the kindred, you go to the village. From the village level, you go to the town level. And as these particular layers tend to be progressive, there is always this link of relationship that follow these layers. In each of these layers, there were representatives in some cases where there are to be decisions to be made. But before a meeting that has to do with representatives from the lower layer, there must be consultation from the lower layer. Let me explain. I think it's a bit complex here. If there's to be a very major political decision to be made, it starts from the family, and the family will take a position. In some cases, the oldest person in that family, by family I mean a collection of families related, will take the position of their family to the kindred. From the kindred, they will make decisions. From the kindred, they go to the village level. From the village level, they go to the town level, depending on the uniqueness or the area of coverage of such decision. Now, this is pure democratic orientation in African unique way. One very important thing about this is that from the historic analysis from the analysis of historians, nobody has come out to say that these unique political structures were learned by Africans or the Africans that were operating them from outside Africa. No, they were homegrown, and they brought about very reliable stability in the political setting of such societies. Well, I am not saying that every other political unit had the same. No, there are also some differentiations in others. But one basic thing about all these stateless political units was that none of them had any king. None of them had any major figure or centralized government, but rather they had segmented political structures. Let's take some examples of these stateless societies in Africa. I've mentioned the Igbo people. Another people were the Ibibio people, the Izon or the Ijo people, the Tiv, the Idoma, the Biram, the Angas people, the Yako people, the Mbembe people, the Ekoi people. Other ones were the Lodaga people, the Lowili people, the Bobo people, the Dogon people, the Komba people, the Birifo people, the Bete people, also the Kisi people, the Dan people, the Gaku people, the Kuru people, the Basa people, the Grebo people, the Mano people, the Koranko people, and as well the Fulani people. A good number of the pastoralists that we are operated within West African region and towards the Sahara area had the structure which we are stateless, had the structure or political structures that we are stateless. Well, in the case of the Fulani, they had a good number of stateless structures. I think it was in the Futa Toro on the area that they attempted, or where you had some Fulanis that were settled, that they can say to have created some level of chiefdoms, but still with ingredients of stateless society or stateless political structures. Now, the uniqueness of this, let me go back to the example I used earlier on the case of the Igbos. The uniqueness of this was that when the Europeans came, they could not understand, or they did not understand this political structure because it was complex to them. In the case of the Igbo people, when Britain took over the area that later became Nigeria, one of the places that gave them very tough opposition was the Igbo land, or the Igbo people. This was because they could not, or they did not see already existing centralized political unit in the place, and they did not take time to study the political structure of the Igbo people. The political structure of the Igbo people was complex to them because they could not understand it, and this God made them very confused. Now, what they attempted doing, which even backfired, was to create divisions or provinces which they started keeping under the control of a person, a figure, which they tagged warrant chiefs. So they would create provinces and put it under a warrant chief. And now, when they divided Igbo land and put it under warrant chiefs, they had very serious issue, in the sense that there was the concept of very strong opposition to the warrant chief position, or the warrant chief political position. This made most of the warrant chiefs to be hated by the Igbo people, and this was responsible for the development that led to the Aba Women riot that happened in most part of what later became the eastern Nigeria. This was because the British were using these warrant chiefs as a point of distribution of information and a point of collection of taxes. And in order to show opposition to the position of these warrant chiefs, being that these people were not used to any particular person, any particular political position determining what everybody would do, this brought about very strong opposition that led to the one of the hardest or toughest resistance, led by women in the area that later became eastern Nigeria. Well, the stateless political structure, as I said earlier, was developed by Africans, or by some African societies, executed by some African societies, and operated by some African societies in order to sustain social political stability in their societies. And this cannot be said to have been brought from somewhere outside Africa. Please, if you're watching us for the very first time, subscribe to our channel and click on the notification icon so that anytime we drop a new content, you will be one of the earliest persons to be notified. Thanks for being part of this channel.